All right, we're back. All right, actually, item number 19A, discussing storm debris management.
Yeah, so we spoke last Thursday about this. I know there's been a lot of planning, a lot of discussion. I know the county and the city have had discussions about potential interlocal agreements and items like that. And so today, I'm really hoping that we can get kind of a finalized plan in terms of what the county intends to do with debris in the right of way. So as a reminder, we're focused on the debris, the trees, the dirt and the gravel on the right of way that needs to be removed for public safety reasons, for other reasons. And so I'm here today just to gather more information from y'all on that. And I can also provide any expertise that I might have that I got from TDEM, Texas Division of Emergency Management, or anybody else in terms of possible reimbursement if we were able to get that major disaster declaration from the federal government.
Can you talk about the volume of vegetative debris that's been estimated? Do you have that information with you? I guess all of the debris, vegetative debris and the sand, gravel, silt.
Yeah, so we actually did quite a bit of surveys earlier during this event, so I guess this was like a week or two. And I believe the volume was, if I can check my notes here, considered somewhat insignificant when you look at things like tornadoes and hurricanes. Usually you have large amounts of like appliances, household goods. For us, we really just didn't take the damage in terms of residential, and so we didn't have a lot of that. But our teams that again were made up of Texas Division of Emergency Management experts as well as just county folks, we estimated about 584 cubic yards in precinct 3 total, and that would be again right away, public, and we also estimated 118 cubic yards in precinct 2. So if you summarize that, that's about 700 cubic yards total that the county would need to clean up that is considered in the right of way. And to clarify too, trees, sand, gravel.
Have you heard anything back from the city on?
No, it's not beyond what we talked about last week, unless actually, have you heard anything else from the city beyond our discussions that we had last few days?
Checked in with the city. They said that they've been in contact with y'all, that there's 2 options. They're more than happy to go with whatever option best fills with what the county needs. I think the reminder would be we really have to get an interlocal agreement. And since the county might be paying, tipping fees, or they might be paying something at the landfill, all of that needs to be documented in that interlocal agreement so that if and when FEMA declares us in this disaster, we can submit that interlocal agreement and all of the cost tracking and potentially get that back. But it's really important that whatever is decided between the city and county is documented in that interlocal agreement so that we have that paperwork when FEMA asks.
Did y'all submit the permit? I know we discussed a TCQ permit. Has that process been started for the landfill?
We will be submitting it this morning.
Okay.
Based on the GPS points that we got from the city on where they typically do their wood chipping.
Okay. So my discussion with the city was primarily trying to determine whether if we can segregate the vegetative debris and it can be handled differently than traditional refuse, so it doesn't need to go into the landfill cell. That was the primary purpose of the discussions that I had with the city. I think the secondary part to that is if we can do that, then what's the capability to deal with those materials on site by grinding, mulching, whatever, trying to reduce the mass to something that's more manageable. So I think we can continue those discussions. I mean, the city was open to discussing and working together to resolve that. It's just determine the capabilities and exactly how that's going to be done. So from a county standpoint, I think we need to determine if we, with our internal staff, can manage these loads, the volume of debris, or if we need to consider hiring additional help to assist us in that. And I'm really gonna leave that up, I guess, to Commissioners 2 and 3, since y'all really have all of the significant debris in your
Until I
precincts.
get more information from the city as far as they're looking at a tub grinder that they would use that would increase the volume they can handle. What is their time frame on how long will they have that tub grinder? Is it a matter of a couple of weeks? Do we have a couple of months to get everything hauled with our crews, or do we need more manpower to get it out there in a timely fashion? So still fact finding going on that.
Of the numbers you had, I mean, what of that is debris and what of that is sand and gravel? Because that's two different.
I believe this actually is all vegetative because these were the numbers we gave to the city.
Okay.
So we do have additional numbers, and I can give a full report, either sent to you via email or next time in court, so I don't have all of those numbers.
I've got a number on the dirt gravel in precinct 3. It's about 927 cubic yards is what they came up with. So yeah, the 700 number between 2 and 3 is just vegetative.
Okay.
And most of that looks pretty clean, very little trash in that. It is trees and grass.
So Commissioners, what additional information do you need to determine whether this is something that,
Again, with the tub grinder, how long is their procurement on the city side? Are they leasing it? Is that a new purchase? Is it a 2-week rent, month rent? How fast does the debris need to get there? And then we need to determine, can we meet that with our crews, or do we need to enter into a contract with somebody to do it?
so if we elect to transport these to landfill, do you foresee us needing a staging area? Or would this be just transported directly from the site to the
It'd be a direct.
landfill?
I don't see a need to stage it and then you're double handling everything. Load it, haul it to destination, grind it and be done.
I mean, it's 700 cubic yards, 14 yards of truck, and those bigger dump trucks, that's 50 loads. That's manageable and on our behalf.
Yeah, no, and I would think so too. Again,
As far as transportation, and I mean, I think we're all willing to help and get
Yes.
it done.
yeah, and everybody's been very gracious on that. So again, getting the T's crossed and the I's dotted on it
Correct.
to see where we are.
I did want to add real quick, I know since we're kind of going with force count, so using county crews, we would be, as long as we track effectively, eligible for time spent, crews spend putting together debris and taking it, so we'd be tracking crew hours, county equipment, which we can get reimbursed, as well as tipping fees if that was it. That would be something that in agreement we can get back. So all of that's eligible for reimbursement, but it will be really important that we follow the survey and the training and take photos every time, so that when we turn that into FEMA, we have proof of exactly who was doing it, when they were doing it, how much was hauled, when, all the formal documentation that is required for federal reimbursement.
So it sounds like I'm hearing that y'all are leaning towards handling this internally pending agreement with the city. Is that?
That would be my recommendation on the current information that I have.
Okay. So let's start working towards getting some agreement in place with the city. I mean, it's gonna need to go to city council, we need to come back to us, so there'll be some time flag in there. But we can work out all those details and get that sorted out. So we've got a a formal agreement and plan in place for that. The second type of debris that is also an issue is the sand and rocks and gravel. We've had some discussions about how to dispose of that because there's so much of it, and I don't know if the county necessarily has a need for it. It just showed up on the roadways, so.
I've had some landowners reach out and offer spots that it could be stacked close by to some of the areas. Other areas like Commissioner Weinheimer had asked about, can we haul it all to Old San Antonio? And until we get an engineering plan on that, is that suitable to use for fill there or not? What's gonna be our best option there? I hate to double handle, triple handle stuff or create a bigger problem by getting rid of a small problem, so.
Do you need to pursue some staging areas in those locations with those landowners? Is that something you think you need?
A couple of them that have reached out and volunteered and said, hey, I've got a spot here, get it out of the roadway, dump it. It's not in my way, it's not gonna be a problem. The river could have just easily deposited it there, so we've done that in some areas. All the roads that are, the road and bridge that are in good shape, the debris is cleared well enough that roads are usable, which was our main focus last week on all that, so.
I did want to remind y'all too, that with gravel and sand, there's no requirements to put it anywhere like it would be with vegetation. You know, with vegetation, we have to have the permit and all that. The state has confirmed that in many cases, folks can reuse it. If landowners want to use it on their property for something else, that's fine. People can give it away. It's just something that's up to the county on where y'all want to either store it, use it, put it. But there's no formal permits or anything that we have to do with that stuff.
So we can actually dispose of that. If a landowner were to say, I have a ditch here, we can fill it in, or a low spot, we can just put it there? Or do we have to have an agreement with them? I would think a written agreement of some sort.
I mean, if you're going on a private property, we would need something for sure.
Correct. So we wouldn't have to go dig it out and,
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, I think the suggestion would be to place it on public property somewhere and have people get it. I think that's kind of what was recommended when we discussed it in the Emergency Operations Center. Open access and not necessarily going onto private land with it, but it would be open for people.
Don't take any action today related to this type of debris? Or is this another?
Sounds like we've got state approval to do and need to see if we can find a spot and if there's any interest in, from the public of arranging where they can come get it if they want it, or if somebody's got ditches. I will check with people in my precinct that are close by there. And also with engineers on Old San Antonio when we get to that point. That if that fill is usable, that would be a very cost-effective way of filling that.
Okay. Any other discussion on the storm debris management? Ashley, anything else you need on that item?
Nope, just let me know if I need to facilitate a meeting between the city and the county to discuss the interlocal agreement, if we need copies of that, or just however emergency management can support solidifying this plan and then moving forward. I did want to also mention that our team in the Emergency Operations Center developed a survey that debris crews will use on their phone take a picture, check in, GPS, all that stuff for reimbursement. And so we will be ready to get a training on that this week or as soon as possible, just to make sure that we're tracking everything if and when we get the declaration.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
Okay, are we ready to move on to 19B?
So no action on,
All right, just discussion only on that 19A.
Okay.
19B is going to be discussion and possible action related to road and bridge damage assessments and repairs and procurement of contracts for services related to same. We have 3 individuals that signed up to make a public comment on this item. Any opening comments on this before we take public comment from the commissioners or from Ashley?
So on Old San Antonio Bridge area, the bridge is in good repair. It's the approach to it from the town side, from the heading east onto the bridge. There's other avenues to get out of there. It's not as convenient as Old San Antonio could be. In discussion with TDM, emergency repairs are allowed if we were to get a federal grant. However, since there's other avenues that are not a major inconvenience, our emergency repairs, to my understanding, would not be eligible for reimbursement. I'm trying to be careful and cognizant of not getting hung with the whole bill if other funds are available. So still in that process and trying to figure out where and what. Talked to a contractor and he's got an idea. He claims it could be a permanent fix. We've got some other ideas that we're still looking at and concerns, so.
Yeah, so we've been researching kind of how FEMA looks at emergency repairs. And so in some cases, you can do an emergency repair and get that obviously reimbursed, and then do the real repair and get that reimbursed. Some of our recovery experts at the state are saying you would have to do it as soon as possible. And so if there's a lot of delay in waiting on your emergency repair, FEMA will basically say, well, you waited a little while to do it, so it wasn't too much of an emergency. And so that is just one caution, I would say. We've also done some research to say that FEMA really normally looks for that for like one way in, one way out, or if there's some kind of critical access. So maybe a neighborhood's cut off from food, hospital, emergency services. In this case, it's not deemed that way because there's still access. And so while that could be something that we could submit, and we definitely can, there's a little bit of a caution to that because there's a chance that FEMA could decide, hey, this doesn't really qualify as emergency repair, and that would be on the county to pay for that and not get recouped for any of that.
All right. Any other comments before we do a public comment?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, Chris Coleman.
Chris Coleman. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning.
Commissioner. I'm here not representing just myself, but many of my neighbors as well, who were all inconvenienced by not being able to access Old San Antonio Road because of what we're talking about here. So I would think we understand that the emergency funding issue probably doesn't hold, but in terms of priority of the project, it is a big inconvenience for a lot of people. And so we want to better understand who's in charge, what engineer has been assigned to it, what's the evaluation on that, and where it ranks in a priority in terms of the many things you have to fix. Where does this rank in terms of the priorities? Particularly if federal funding was to not be part of this, what's the budget situation and allocation in terms of being able to address something like this?
Thank you. Bruce Campbell.
Judge, Commissioners, good morning. I'm Brent Campbell.
Morning.
My wife and I live about 6 miles out Old San Antonio Road, and we are here with neighbors. Neighbors, raise your hands. So we're here because of what's happened to our bridge, but to address the whole situation from even a 10,000 foot deal. It's maybe an opportunity, especially if we get federal funds. I'll be making my call to Chip Roy's office, and I encourage everybody, all the neighbors, to do the same thing, to get that disaster declaration from the president. Our road, the bridge, that hopefully is still good, it wasn't undermined itself, was built, as you know, in 2014. And before that, it was a little one-lane bridge. And the one-lane bridge in Old San Antonio Road had a limited amount of traffic, limited by a little one-lane bridge. So the new bridge was opened in 2015. And there's the old saying, if you build it, they will come. And they have come with that nice bridge. The traffic on Old San Antonio Road has increased exponentially. And we now have 18-wheelers, concrete trucks, every car, group, parade, motorcycles, you name it, everything comes down our road. And the road is still the same little road that was limited by the one-lane bridge. And so the road has suffered greatly over that time. And as with the increased traffic, there are sections of the road that are really that are in great shape. But there's other sections of the road, it's actually dangerous to drive on. You have to have extra grip on your steering wheel when you go across them. Last week, we had a car lose control and hit a pole, knocked down a pole on the road. So every time it rains, not only this time, sections of the road get in disrepair. And the county does come out and fill a pothole or two. But it's kind of like filling a crater on the backside of the moon. You know, the rest of the moon is still bad. If you fill one crater, it's still, you haven't made a great deal. So there are two main alternatives we have to come to town now. Moisey Bot Creek Road, not a non-dangerous road at all. You're all familiar with it. It's a very small road. I came that way today. I waited on a cow for 5 minutes to cross the road because it didn't want to go very fast. And so the other option is to go to Root Pike, Cane City, and Cane City, a road which appears to me to be a little smaller than Old San Antonio Road. And it's not fun passing 18-wheelers coming at you on that road. So there's a safety issue. Yes, there are alternatives, but they're not safe. They're not as safe as what we had. So there is a priority to getting the road open as soon as possible. The other thing is that when the bridge was built, it had a double yellow stripe on both approaches and on the bridge. And if we get a disaster declaration, we expect that yellow stripe to come back, and we'll already continue that yellow stripe from 290 to the county line. Because I can't tell you how many times I have had to pull off into the ditch to keep from a car that's going down the middle of the road from hitting me head on. They've experienced the same thing. And so it's because of the increased traffic. Now that road, which is, I don't know, about 7 miles long to the county line, goes another, 16 miles to Comfort. But as soon as you cross into Kendall County, it's a well-maintained road with a double yellow stripe. Nobody pulls in front of me on that road. And I do go that way when I go to Comfort to hit I-10. And it's a dramatic difference. So now again, there are sections of the road that are dangerous, that receive damage every time it rains. And so it got rain this time, and those areas are damaged. So we hope those areas are covered, and that you can even if you have to do a little supplemental repair and hit two birds with one stone. And as they pay to restripe the bridge, keep that striper going all the way. Because it's a safety issue. So I just encourage that we do seek the quickest method possible to repair the bridge and get it back open for all of us, especially my wife, who goes to town, has to travel those ways. And she doesn't go quite as, Sheriff, don't listen to this, she doesn't go quite as slow as I do, so.
Thank you. Tim Neff.
It's pretty well been covered. Oh,
Thank you.
everything has been covered that I want to speak about, but I did notice that at the river, about an eighth of the river actually changed course and wiped out that part of the road. Is there any effort or any thought that maybe there was some damage an eighth mile up the river? And now in future heavy rains, water's gonna take that path and tear up what we're going to repair. So just a food for thought there.
And
It is definitely a new path. And so somewhere up there, we lost river bank.
with the gravel pit that has been there and the size of the flood, and that's all part of the engineering. When TDM was out there looking, we've got estimates, ideas that range anywhere from about 400,000 to 5.5 million. So,
Because I'd hate to go
Yeah.
to this trouble.
oh yeah, no, and that's,
And then here it is again, because the river has a new path. That's it.
yes, sir.
Thank you.
The other side of, with the federal funds, they allow you to build back to what was there. So there's also some limitations in that on what can be done. And actually, I think you've got some information on that. So I said, there's a whole lot of working parts in there, and trying to be as careful as possible. And Old San Antonio is a priority, but if we turn around and do it incorrectly, cost the county a lot of money that we may have been able to recoup, and it's not, then where are we? So I understand y'all's concerns, and it is definitely priority, so, but until we know all of the information, it's hard to make sure we're doing the best and correct solution.
Yeah, I did want to speak a little bit about that. So FEMA believes when we get reimbursement that you're building back to the state that it was the day before the flood. And so with this, step one, in the event that we were to get a major disaster declaration, FEMA would kind of take a look at what we had, and we have proof. They want all the maintenance reports, they want the schema, all the engineer stuff that y'all did when you built it back then. They would review that, review what we've done, and then we would reimburse what went into that based on that. Counties do have an ability to change it, but they're not gonna be able to recoup that, and so that would be something financially the county would have to decide on. I did wanna make a plug for some of the federal hazard mitigation grants. So typically when you see a disaster come through the area, that actually will put us in a bucket of eligibility for potentially in the future putting in this project to do hazard mitigation. So maybe redoing it and making it a full bridge or building back better. There are federal funds in the mitigation program that would be something that we could pursue over the next few years to try to make that better. But for now, in terms of reimbursement, yes, it would have to be rebuilt back to the state that it was, unless the county wanted to pay for that out of pocket.
It's been 12 days. In your experience, have you seen a federal disaster declaration takes that long?
Yes, and I think especially over the past few years, I believe I had a colleague out working in the Tennessee area with the ice storms this year. They didn't get their public assistance or their major disaster declaration for weeks, actually months. And so the only thing we can do on our side is try to push the data, push it through the state pushes it up to the federal. And then what we can try to do is try to kind of project where the system will land and try to do some work, that we know that we're already gonna do regardless, and try to track that so that we're in a good spot when they do, but we're also in a good spot if they don't. So we're hoping fingers crossed to hear something, but yeah, it can sometimes take weeks or months, for that federal decision.
So in addition to Old San Antonio Road, are there other locations that you believe you, really for 2 and 3, that y'all may need outside contractor assistance with?
There's several bigger areas that will definitely be contractor if we go back with, what was there.
Yeah, we probably have 3 different locations that, one we share, 2 that are mine, plus Old San Antonio. That would probably be assistance required.
Are those passable right now if they just don't have the slabs
2 of my locations, we built emergency temporary
crossings?
crossings, and there'll be a total rebuild. And then on Grona Shawneewood, it took out the whole slab. I mean, not Grona Shawneewood,
Coonrod
Coonrod Grona.
Yeah.
It took out the entirety of the slab, and it's going to be a little more challenging because of the amount of water that flows under that, at that
Yeah,
location.
it was originally a river crossing. They added a slab in there, we believe somewhere early 90s, late 80s. And about 180 feet of that slab is completely gone. It is passable. It is not as nice as it was. Water's a little deeper. Most all of the residents that are back there have been there a while and know how to maneuver. But yeah, that's gonna be, estimates on that one was 100,000 to redo. The only other one is, like I say, Old Kerr and Hoggle Dairy. There's water, a live stream under the road that is causing issues there, and thought that when the river gets back to normal flow, it may or may not be there. Or then what's our next option? Bowes Lane is open. We did repairs to it. It's passable. There'll still be more repairs there. And then of course you can go to South End, Center Point Road and Old Kerr and get across also.
You don't need anything from the Commissioner's Court today to help move this process along? Or any action that we can take today to assist?
We can post for proposals and bids on some of these bigger ones for informational purposes and be that much further down the road. I believe we can do that without court order, correct?
Are you talking about posting like an RFP, like a request for proposal for repairs?
And how does each individual one stand on their own as far as a purchase goes?
Are you talking about each repair?
Each
being its own
repair.
project?
Because more than likely, you're going to get the same person that would be competitive. Possibly, or if they do come up for bidding, to where they would be more competitive if you could bundle them, if you will.
And my thought on that is I would ask for individual pricing, and if they so wanted to put in here's as a group, if we do all of it.
Commissioner Ansky, would you like me to kind of summarize our inspections and costs associated with those?
Can if you like, yeah, I mean,
That'd be good information.
Yeah, well, Melissa comes up here, I did want to just remind y'all that y'all updated your procurement policy and your purchasing policy. We have to follow that for reimbursement, so it's important that you get the bids, do the quotes, we get all that paperwork, otherwise FEMA will also not reimburse, so just a reminder.
So we conducted, 47 inspections last week and identified 42 of those that need some amount of work. Those prices range anywhere from $1 couple $1,000s to go repair scouring and riprap and things like that, all the way up to Old San Antonio, which the estimate for that to repair it to the current condition came back around a little bit over $1 million. So not, yeah, some projects small, some projects not so small. So depending on how you want to handle the debris, my recommendation would be to essentially group together smaller projects into packages to make them more appealing to some of the better contractors to go and package them up and have consistency throughout these as we go through them. That way we don't have 47 different contractors doing 47 different things. So I looked at that really very high level view. I believe we can get it into, no more than 10 groups if we were gonna, worst case contract everything out. Of course, that's up to you if you would like to focus our hands on some of the smaller repairs or, have a lot of projects that are kind of in that 50,000 to 100,000 range. So if the procurement is it 100,000 now for so we could package those together into groups of 5 or 6 projects and handle a lot of repairs that way to help to get some assistance for our routines and repairing those. But then still have that group together so we're not scattered throughout the county with different contractors. And again, for Old San Antonio, of course, you have the ongoing discussion of, do we keep this new channel that, so to speak, been created just by the flow? Do you put culverts there and keep that as a backup drainage plan for other future events, or, do we fill it in? I think we could use the fill. We need to do some material testing and make sure it's compacted and do density testing as we get to the top. But there are options for that project. Again, largely dependent on if we think that we're going to get federal funding. But of course, keeping in mind the timeline that we're exposed.
And Melissa, thank you for all of your work on that last week with we had 4 teams that went out. That decision was made, if I remember correctly, late that Friday evening before, and Melissa was able to contact 4 different private engineering firms that we've worked with, and they were all happy to do, excited to do. And Tuesday morning we came together and went out and hit it. It was a long day, but they went out and did an amazing job and pulled it all together.
Send them signing for that. Thank you.
So on the engineering question on Old San Antonio Road, do we need to answer the engineering question of what the options are for repair there, I guess, before we would procure the project?
I think it's more of a just a county preference on, do we want to use that space as somewhere to fill, bring it back to the original condition, or do we want to, if we do keep this new area that's been carved out as kind of a new waterway, if we keep that, we'll likely need easements from the adjacent owners to do some grading work to make sure it connects back to the river. So I think there is there are more questions raised by that, or just more, front end work on securing easements and getting plans together for, going and forming that essentially into a new channel versus going and filling it back in. Because I do, I hate to fill it in whenever, we do have this opportunity to, if this event happens next year, just like it did in Kerrville 2 years in a row, then at least we have a little bit more room for the water to go through that area. Obviously, that's what it wants to do. But of course, then you also have the issue of, the fill be really nice to put the fill there, bring it back to original condition. So it's more of a county preference on what direction we want to take that project.
So you couldn't do a fill and do that as an emergency repair and then look at a longer term plan, putting an elevated bridge through there?
So I think you could put the fill in there as an emergency repair, but then if we decided to utilize that as a waterway, we're just gonna take it back out. So, depends if we want to move it twice or move it once or.
Yeah.
I think we need to answer that question as soon as we can, because that's going to hold up that project. And so I guess my question is, how do we accelerate that portion of the project, that decision-making process to figure out which way we're going to move forward on that? I don't know if we need additional.
We can, like Commissioner Gillespie, we can get, so this estimate of the just over $1 million is to bring it back to existing condition. So not utilizing the waterway, filling it up, and just placing the road back on grade. We could also get a cost estimate for going in, grading it, securing the easements, putting in culverts. And we can compare the two and decide from there if that extra cost, and there are, mitigation, funding for mitigation that was mentioned by TDM. Again, whether we get that or not, it's still up in the air. So we could look at what the cost difference is and based on that information, decide if we want to keep the waterway open and install culverts, or if it's higher than you would like it to be, then we go build it in. I think that's a logical first step.
Well, I still have the concern of what changed upstream to make the water divert like it did? Or is it just that it got so high that it was covering? Because that is.
Yeah, I think what happened is when the greenhouse got over its tanks, since that gravel pit was there, it was a lot softer, so it naturally went that direction. Then it kind of got trapped and it just found a soft spot and continued to chew at that until it made its way back. But it's pretty deep. It's like 20 foot or so there. It's not a small washout by any means.
Yeah, I'd be curious on what price difference there and what will the culverts handle? Will they handle the smaller floods and keep it from eating out with a smaller flood even get to that point of it again? I have not gone up into the private property where the gravel pit is to see, is there an existing area that it has to get 2 feet, 5 feet, 10 feet over before it comes this direction again? Or did it dig that channel out completely?
Yeah, so the channel, if we improve it with this new channel and put in culverts, it's not gonna pass a 100-year storm because that water was way through. Maybe next time it passes a 25 or 50, we look at that and see what the benefit is for making that improvement. So yeah, if we had culverts and it's still passing the same storm, then maybe it's not worth an extra, however much it costs to do that project. That's something that we would look at.
I'd recommend we get that information together and be able to make an informed decision.
On the other projects, do you want to start working on a plan to possibly group those and start working on plans for procurement?
That would be my preference, is to start, maybe not start repairs without court approval, but start requesting some bids for some of these projects. And my other question I had is at some point I would like to ask for approval for some emergency repairs that we did on Friday to get people out, that we replaced some culverts and bridges and I mean, that's another item on my discussion, what I'd like to do, but for the time being, I think it would be prudent for us to start getting some bids. I mean, we, it's, in another month or two, people are gonna start getting really upset. And I think we want to we need to be moving forward to start building back at some point.
Would your preference be to have, the Europeans do the smaller projects that are mostly like repairing scour, placing signage, things like that, and then contract out the, $20,000 to $100,000 jobs, or
100%, yes.
Yeah.
And I think we do what we can on our own, but some of these bigger projects, if we're using our road hands and tie them up for 2 or 3 weeks, we're not getting anything else done.
And also I would be starting to contact some contractors that might be able to handle these jobs and start putting them on notice that we're coming.
Any other discussion?
I think Melissa and we'll get together and come up with groupings and lists with.
Yep, sounds good.
So if and when we get declared, part of this will be developing scope of works. So I know Melissa's already working on all of that, but we can work closely with the TDM finance folks and the recovery folks to make sure that we're getting the scope of works that they would want to see with that. So making sure you have the scope of work before you guys start doing the bids and making sure that it checks all the boxes for that would be good.
Ashley, any other disaster recovery needs that you need to discuss?
No, I really want to encourage, even if you didn't think that you had a lot of damage, please do that ISTAT survey. That survey is what the state's looking at, it's what the federal government's looking at, and it's what I'm looking at. And so for us to reach out and see how we can help you with nonprofit support, or if we could come up with any community relief funds that you can apply for, or anything that we can do to help y'all with your recovery, we absolutely have to have y'all do that form. And so I just want to remind everybody of that link. I believe I have it on my notes here. To find the ISTAT survey, you're going to go to damage.tdem.texas.gov. So please tell everybody about that. If they have any questions at all, they can call me on my 24/7 cell, 830-998-7252. I can navigate y'all with any issues. If there's anything I can do to bring nonprofits in to help with some debris or anything, please just let me know. We've been working nonstop since about 3 weeks ago. So we're here to serve you. But that's all.
I will ask for public information wise, what type of damage, any flood related damage on that, home damage, what's the umbrella on that you want reported?
Everything. So I do understand that in the survey that TDM has created for us to push out, if you take the survey and you don't hit the agriculture damage, it says don't include pictures of fence, don't include that stuff. We still want that stuff. I think the state was just trying to separate the two. And so we want all damage. If you have more of like debris in your yard, private driveway or fencing, which the majority of our county has, you're gonna hit the agriculture button. That's gonna open up options for fencing damage on ranches and stuff like that. And then you have an ability to check several different boxes like, I have debris issues or things like that. Check all of that. When that comes to our office, we pull it and we've been calling. So if I get your survey, I'll take a look, I'll give you a call. I'll ask you, hey, what do you have? You can tell me, we can kind of report that. And then I'm also gonna ask what y'all need. If you need chainsaw teams, if you need different things. And then we can work directly with some of the response groups that are actually down south in Kerr and Uvalde and try to pull some of that stuff up to help with our recovery. So that kind of explains the survey a little better.
Thank you.
Commissioners, anything else you all want to discuss on this item?
Not at the moment, sir.
Okay, we are going to move back to the normal order of the agenda. We will move to item number 3.
Can we get 17? from Mike?
Oh, yes, sir. Y'all can step out. You don't have to stay for the whole meeting if you don't want to. Is Mike here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's sitting behind the sheriff.
If I could. Bruce Heinsky again, Pleasant County Citizen. I did ask for a report on the notice of violation. The county engineer did not provide any information on it. I believe that's a critical point. The notice of violation was issued before Christmas last year. It has existed on that property for quite some time. I think the county is entitled to know what happens when a notice of violation is filed. Does anything happen? Because this is critical, not just for this case, but for anything going forward. Is anything issued out of the county engineer's office ever enforced?
We're going to move to item number 17, which is consider approval of purchase, installation, and payment of hydraulic system to be added to a Peterbilt truck for precinct 4.
This is you.
Board of Commissioners. And I'd like to ask the court to approve the purchase of, installation of, and payment of a hydraulic system for precinct 4's 2026 Peterbilt dump truck. The hydraulic system would be used as far as, they could use it as a patch truck. We can put a cross conveyor on the back, and the cross conveyor allows them to put mix, black base or pre-mix on either side of the truck, and then they can spread it out. At this time, the truck would be used for more than one purpose. You could actually still use it for paving, you can use it as a dump truck, and you can use it as a patch truck. So it's just using the truck for one more thing that you could use it for. The mechanic shop would be installing the box on the back of the truck. The box would be installed is the one that came off of their old patch truck, which was sold on Gov Deals last year. The box is about 13 years old, but still looks in good shape, so we're gonna use that. The system comes with a power takeoff that goes on the transmission, a hydraulic pump, and then all the hoses are included. They run all the way to the rear of the truck. It comes with a hydraulic cooler and all electronics that go inside the cab that run the box. And the reason why we're all starting to go with electronics is to keep the hydraulics out of the cab. It's all under the truck instead of in the cab. It's all electronically from there to the bottom. I have 2 bids, one's from Hydraulic Supply in the amount of $21,871.72. The second bid is from San Antonio Brake and Clutch in the amount of $10,947.41. San Antonio Brake and Clutch is the cheapest, and they've also done these systems for us in the past. And I would definitely recommend San Antonio Brake and Clutch to install their system in the amount of $10,947.41.
I move we approve the purchase of the purchase, installation, payment of a hydraulic system for Peterbilt truck in precinct number 4 to San Antonio Brake and Clutch in the amount of $10,947.41.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
The kind of the big push to getting these changed to where everything's underneath the truck is we had one that had the hydraulics where it was a manual box inside the truck and it had leaks. But if one were ever to explode or build up pressure, it will severely burn the driver in that vehicle. So it's a real safety issue. Now, correct? Is that correct, Mike?
Yes,
Is that a fair statement? That's been one of our big pushes to get those hydraulics out of the truck for safety.
And we have used San Antonio Brake and Clutch on numerous jobs. I trust their abilities, even with that big price difference. They're reputable, they're a good company.
They've done a really good job for us.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Okay, now we are going to go back to item number 3, approve job descriptions and or posting for positions in the county sheriff's office.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, everyone in the audience. So what we're looking at is we unfortunately lost Kevin Carter. So we're looking at replacing him. We haven't had to do that for a little bit. So with the kind help of Lynn Friedrich in the HR area, Chief Deputy Phillips and them redesigned our job description for the bailiff, security, and transport deputy. So this is what we came up with. It's a lot more detailed than the previous one that really didn't exist, but we created this one. And this one is designated, so whoever applies will read this, and then they will sign it at the end if they understand these are the requirements for that position. So this is what we're asking to get, so that we can actually put out for replacement of former Deputy Carter.
So was there a job description previously for this role?
Yes, sir.
And so what has been changed on it?
Really, this is new, so really nothing's been changed. We had one that was not really, other than it just said jailer position. So Lynn and Chief Deputy Phillips really put this together.
So it's a new job.
Yes, technically,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
I don't want to say they didn't have anything. I just want to say that we've totally gone away from it.
Yeah.
We'd be unfair if I said they didn't have anything.
So on page 1, it says bailiff, transport deputy, Gillespie County Jail. And then on the second page, it says inmate transport deputy, and it's got a summary again and essential duties and functions again. So I'm not sure, is this supposed to be all encompassing or what? I mean, it seems like you've got some duplication on the first page and the second page. And so I want to make sure we approve something that's what y'all want approved.
Gotcha. So really, I guess I'm going to look at it real quick.
And we can come back to this if y'all want a little bit of time to work, and we can come back to it a little bit.
Phillips him and Lynn did a lot of the work, but the overall goal is these transport deputies can take them from state to state, from county to county, from jail to hospital. I mean, there's realistically, as a transport deputy, there's no place that's off limits as long as it's free transported from a facility, correctional facility to facility, and the hospital. But plus the courtroom back and forth from the jail to here. They'll also be doing jail to upstairs in the district court. We really won't transport inmates to another county, with the exceptions of the weather. Could be a factor, like right now, Kirk County's courthouse is under repair, so they are moving some inmates from there to here. But on the most part, I mean, there's really no limits to where we could send these deputies to transport inmates.
So you're posting for one position on this one bailiff / transport / jailer.
Yes, sir, we can update that.
I mean, it looks like you initially had the inmate transport deputy, and then there's just the additional duties that have been added on related to courtroom security and stuff like that.
So a lot of times when they transport that inmate to the courtroom, that is their job, is to maintain the security of that inmate. That would also maintain any potential threats to that inmate while he or she is in court. So they technically are doing security.
And I mean, I'm not questioning, I'm not trying to get into your business.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Of courthouse security. I want to make sure we got that we approve what you want us to
Right,
approve.
yes, sir.
I mean, it almost seems like
Anyone
you,
add anything based on the question? Okay.
Combination position.
Yeah.
I think that first page covers the bailiff side of it. The second page is more the transport duty deputy, the inmate transport deputy covers there.
One of the big things is I've said this in the past, that our ultimate goal is to make sure that every bailiff transport deputy is a certified peace officer that's armed. so they can act on any level in the courtroom proceeding. So they're not just necessarily there for the transport, but they could also act as law enforcement to control the courtroom if needed. And they will be decked out as a full-scale patrolman with cameras, et cetera, the equipment that's required for them to do the duties of that position. So this person is definitely going to be doing technically 3 roles in that. So here's what the reality is: that deputy may be a transport deputy today, but then he may be courtroom bailiff tomorrow because the other deputy is transporting the inmate. So that's kind of, I think, the way this is approaching it, is that they have definitely more than one job description.
So you're good at the way it is.
Yes, sir, I am.
I move to approve the job description postings for the following positions in the county sheriff's office. Bailiff, transport deputy / county, Gillespie County jail. 1 position. The second position would be crime scene technician.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Did you want to talk about the crime scene tech at all?
Yes, sir. Right now, we currently have Elizabeth Nielsen is employed in that position. We just need to create something so that we have an understanding, she had an understanding what her job description is. And so we have this now. What we're trying to do is create job descriptions for everything at the sheriff's office so that we can have on file with the HR department. And that would, the most important thing is that they follow what we're looking for in that position. I don't want to, or I hope to replace Ms. Nielsen anytime in the near future, but should we have to, we definitely want that in play.
So you're just looking for approval of the description
Yes,
here,
sir.
not a posting? And
This
the
is
previous,
not one on this.
the previous one, you're looking for a posting.
Yes, sir.
Did you cover that in your motion?
Yeah, I'll also add that the job description for the crime scene technician, the very first line, it says position and class title, and that's incorrect. Position listed in there, that would need to be amended.
Veteran service officer.
She is a newly added position to the criminal investigations division, and she has earned her keep in the first 19 months with the events that we've experienced in Gillespie County, including an officer-involved shooting.
All right, we have a motion and a second. You want to amend or?
Yes, I would like to amend my motion to, I would like to start over.
I would do it. Can we do it in 2 motions? Because I think that would be clear.
I would like to remove my motion.
Let's, you want to withdraw your first motion, your second, and we'll start over.
Yes. So I would move to approve a job description and posting for position of sheriff's office, Gillespie County, for the bailiff, transfer deputy, Gillespie County jail for the posting and the job description.
Second.
So motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Sheriff, what would the position or class title be? Currently says Assistant Veteran Service Officer.
I'm sorry,
Crime scene technician. On the crime scene technician, first line, like Judge pointed out, position / class type, it says Assistant Veteran Service Officer. It's obviously wrong, should it be a crime scene technician? What would be the title on this one?
Yes, sir, correct, crime scene technician. That's what it currently is stating on her badge. Crime scene technician. For some reason, she didn't like the CSI. So that we visited with her about it. She is not classified as law enforcement, she is realistically just a crime scene evidence collection, photographer, etc.
You do not want to post this one at this time, it's just creating the job description.
I'll move we approve the job description for the crime scene technician.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I think we need to modify that part that's wrong.
Well, I thought we had, that's why. I'll amend my motion to say on the position class title would be the crime scene technician.
Second.
All right, we have an amended motion and second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That all, Sheriff?
So, sir,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Item number 4, consider approval of county clerk minutes for the Commissioners Court meetings.
I'm asking approval for the county clerk minutes for July 14th, July 20th, and July 23rd.
I've reviewed them and either approved them or made edits to them. So I move we approve the Commissioners Court meeting minutes for July 14th, July 20th, and July 23rd.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5 is consider approval of the renewal of a contract with Hill Country Dispute Resolution Center. I don't have a copy of this contract, so this is an annual renewal that we do every year, but I'm going to ask that we take no action on this and we'll bring it back to the next meeting. Item number 6, consider approval of a resolution and submission of the grant application for the FY 2027 Formula Grant Program with the TIDC. This is another annual grant program that we participate in. These funds are used to help support our public defender's office, our regional public defender's office.
Are you ready?
I'm ready, yes.
I move we approve the resolution and submission of the grant application for the fiscal year 2027 to the Formula Grant Program and the Texas Indigent Defense Commission.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a question. On the resolution that says, at the very bottom, it says, be further resolved that the county auditor is designated as a financial officer for this grant. Should it be a new grant writer? Or is that different?
We can make that designation. Each of the grants are a little different in what they designate for these titles.
Okay. That's an option.
When we do the application, I can add additional, usually we can add additional officials that have ability to access, so we could add grant administrator as an additional person to have
Okay.
access to the program. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, consider approval of invoice for autopsy services rendered by Hill Country Forensics. This is an invoice from JP Precinct 2. Typically, they get these as individual invoices, so we don't have them on the agenda, but when they're grouped together, they exceed the approval amount, and they require Commissioners Court approval. So that's the purpose of this being on the agenda. Otherwise, it's a routine autopsy services that were requested. I'll move for approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8, consider approval of the purchase of elections equipment and approval for resolution authorizing the acceptance and use of the HAVA funds for payment of said equipment and purchases. We have 2 individuals that signed up to speak on this item. Based on discussions at the end of last week, county is not going to be pursuing, at least currently, the HAVA grant for this particular purchase. Ms. Schneider?
You saved me, I guess, a question, because I was going to bring up once again that the HAVA is a grant and it is a federal grant, and we will not be able to comply with the accounting principles required in that grant. Again, there's a lot of grants coming through this Commissioner's Court that we can't comply with, and we keep doing this. This is putting the county citizens in jeopardy, because we will be the ones who will have to pay whatever penalties and fines and fees are associated with this. So once again, I mean, I'm asking that, and there is no insight or an end date for when the 24 is going to be done. I mean, you put forward the proposal, Judge Jones, for the RFQ for the outside audit. It was riddled with problems, and we haven't seen a revision of that yet. And we haven't had a report from the county treasurer's office on where we are. And again, there's a lot of issues financially that are coming in front of the court during the budget process that raise a lot of red flags, including the legal fund. And I know that's not part of this discussion, but it's an overall discussion. Tomorrow is a hearing on Ampere, and you rejected my ability to speak this morning on open comments to talk about that litigation. None of those court filings have been put on the county's website. There's 14 of them. You've not mentioned it at all. And yet there's a group of citizens who were allowed to have that information. Why was no one else told that this hearing is happening tomorrow? Thank you.
Is it Durfee?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, quick question. So since we're not pursuing the grant, or not purchasing equipment, are we still purchasing equipment?
No, the request is still to procure the equipment from elections. So if that's what you want to comment on, go ahead.
I was looking at the election results, and we have, according to the census count, we have 27,524 population as of 2024. 2024, the registered voters was 21,345. In 2026, that jumped to 21,928. My question is, why are we purchasing this equipment? We're such a small county. I came from a large populated area where they have the voting machines, and it's fraught with corruption. Right now, in 2026, we have 3,000, in the elections in May, we had 3,368 votes cast. Up the turnout was 15.36%. That was on the Republican side. We had 1,389 votes cast for for the turnout for the Democratic side, and that was 6.33%. Now, when I did go back, I noticed that the election for the general election was 76.3%. And so the question really, I was happy when I voted for the first couple of times here because my vote actually counted, right? And that actually means something to me as an American, right? So and I've actually served as a poll worker, right? And we were able to manage the, like the way, she's not here, but we managed about 100 people in 4 hours. Do we really need a machine to replace that? That's my question. I don't want to see us go towards what California did, where we have an election to recall our governor out there who's fraught with corruption. The election closes at 7 and they call the results at 7:01. I mean, come on, we don't have the population here to actually justify the purchase of this type of equipment.
Thank you. Who's going to present this item? Okay, all right. New microphone.
Mr. Riley is out of town, so he asked me to present this item for him. So the elections office is looking to purchase 28 new poll pads and all the accessories that go with it. Currently, there are several that are not able to be updated, and so they are essentially not usable for what we need them for. And then Hart also has a buyback for 18 of those poll pads. Lori did send a list to the auditor's office. There are 18 of them with appropriate numbers for that. So that would be part of the motion if that is accepted. The hard invoices, there are 2 of them. The total of hard invoice is $25,380. The no week invoice is in the amount of $9,670. And the total amount for what we're purchasing is $35,050. That is in the budget. So that the poll pads include the setup, the software, the thermal printers that will accompany the poll pad flip stands, that the printers are attached to poll pad cables, and just everything that's necessary for that setup. Currently for this November election, we only have 6 poll pads that are usable for the election, so this is a definite need for the office, and it takes about 8 to 10 weeks to set it up. So the faster we get it purchased, the faster we'll get them back.
Okay, I've got 2 comments. One is on the buyback of the trade-in of the old iPads. We need to confirm first, if these were purchased with grant funds initially, we need to confirm that how we can dispose of those per the grant. So,
I did forward you that list as well, because I was tomorrow, but we can get this auditor's office, I guess.
and the second part of that is we have to authorize, specifically, we have to authorize the disposition by trade-in of those items. So it's not on the agenda that way, but I mean, we can, I guess, so for that portion of the request, we need to do some more work before we can approve it, in my opinion. And it's still a relatively small amount. I mean, I think they're only offering $25 per iPad per trade-in.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, sir.
So I was a former State Department cybersecurity guy, and so when people are buying the iPads back, who's ensuring the data is completely right? If it's only $25, I would rather have them, destroyed, because, like there was Chinese data harvesting, like every election cycle. And that becomes public data. So when you give a company back, like, something like that, they can get the data off it, even if you wipe it. So I would recommend that the Commissioners Court decide to destroy them versus trade them in for pennies.
Okay, thank you. And we do, we utilize that practice for other types of hardware that we dispose of that has criminal justice information and stuff. So we have the capability to destroy versus trading in. So I think that's a good point. So,
Are we approving the purchase today and not the buyback to later, or? just-
well, I mean, if the court approves the procurement of these items, it would, I think we should exclude the buyback or trade-in portion of that request until we can work through that particular issue.
So Lindsay, how many total pole pads will we have if we approve this purchase? Is it the 22 and 6?
It's 28 that we're purchasing. We do have 6 that are usable that will be backups.
And we'd be getting rid of 18.
Correct.
So this is simply a pole pad upgrade and a pole pad
Yes, there's no voting machines on
increase.
it, it's just a full pads, yes, sir. Because the age of the current pole pads have aged out of the updates from what I'm understanding. Again, I'm relaying this from the elections office, so apparently it doesn't, the backups won't update, so we have to get those. And it's not just us. Other counties are having to do the same thing.
Okay, so for clarification on the record, we're talking about, it's identified as order number 0977 are the last 4 from Hart.
1720.
Order 1220 from Hart, it's the last 4.
7560.
And then the no ink invoice 27365. Is that correct? Was that the right
Yes, sir.
ones that we're discussing?
I'll move we approve the purchase of the iPads and the invoice amount of, I believe it's 34,600. Once we delete no, I need to add to that. 35,500 in the amount of $35,500 and deleting the buyback.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9 is going to be, we've got some library items. Consider approval of a request from the Friends of the Library to hold the annual book sale on September 5th, 2026.
Yes, so I am representing Friends of the Library today. They would just like to hold the annual book sale on the west lawn next to the library on September 5th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. I believe 2 p.m. And in the April, if bad weather happens, they would like to postpone it for 2 weeks for September 19th, if possible. Well, original date would be September 5th, but bad weather, September 19th.
Can we put in the motion, so I do a motion, can we put the alternative dates in there? I move to approve the request of the Friends of the Library to hold their annual book sale on county property on September 5th, 2026, with an alternate date of September 19th.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Is there gonna be any, is it all set up in the grass or is it on the
Yes, sir.
sidewalk?
Yep, on the grass.
And these books have been approved by everybody? I mean, we're all good? There's no landmines here?
No, it's all donations to the Friends of the Library, so anything that's coming before
Yeah, no, but the
donations to
57
them,
model.
that's all it is, to my knowledge.
That's the next.
So you're doing it in between the library and in the annex?
I'm sorry, what was that?
You're doing it in between the library and the annex, like where you do the summer reading programs and that lawn there? Is that the plan?
Yes.
Any other questions or discussion?
How are you supposed to know that? Mike?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item number 10, consider approval of a request to close the county library on December 26th, 2026.
Yeah, last time I was here, I forgot to ask for that date for closing. I thought I had it, but I didn't. So that would be Saturday.
I move to approve the request to close the Pioneer Memorial Library on Saturday, December 2026, in observance of the Christmas holiday.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11, consider approval of declaring obsolete, damaged, and unusable books and other library items as salvage and authorized for disposal of same by recycling.
Yes, so I have two lists here. One is magazines that are to be deleted and disposed of to recycling, and these are just the out-of-date magazines. And then the other list I have is books that have been damaged and the conditions are no longer deemed useful at the library. And also this does include a couple of the DVDs, which broken discs. And we would like to dispose of them to either recycling or trash.
On those lists, do you have a count of that? I've got one list, I think it's 16 titles. Is that? Oh. Yeah, is there
16 titles for the
scratch
books.
disc, broken disc,
Mhm,
bad
yeah.
condition.
Yeah, 14 books and 2 DVDs.
That's the list that the first item is Little Bear and the last item is I lost my tooth.
Yes. And then 32 magazines.
The magazines are on the next, two items down.
Correct.
Okay.
And we have an item just for the magazines also
Oh, that's another
that we
one.
can take as a separate item.
Yeah, it's another different.
Yeah, I have a different list for that.
So is item 11 just that first list of the 16 items?
No, so item 11 is going to be over 100 items, I believe. No,
That's including magazines.
I have 2 separate magazine lists.
So this first one here is the one with 32, and then this one here, these are all magazines that say that they are available in the library, but they are not physically in the building.
Okay. So the one that's titled magazines to be deleted,
Consumer Reports, April 24, through Texas Monthly.
are that list, are those ones that you want to dispose of by recycling?
Yes, yeah, the short
Yeah,
list.
that's enough of this. Yeah. The magazine list is this list. That's magazines. But we're not on that.
I'm
So
sorry.
item 11 only has 16 items, is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing?
The 16 titles, 14 books and 2 DVDs, and in that second list of 34 magazines, they're all recycled trash.
Okay, we're not on that topic though.
Well,
Number 13 is where we're talking about the magazines. I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, there's a small list of magazines that they want to dispose of.
Okay,
Then the item on 13 is a list of magazines that are indicated as being in the library, but they're not in the library. So they want to correct the record to remove those as being part of the record, I guess, of assets in the library, which is the longer list that says missing magazines. I think I've got it. Does that seem to be correct?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm being confusing.
So for item 11, we're discussing that first list that starts with my little bear, 16 items, plus the list that says magazines to be deleted, which are magazines that exist in the library and they want to dispose of.
that would be page 45 of the packet.
All right.
And it's 32 magazines in there, if I count correctly. So I move to approve the declaring obsolete, damaged, and unusable books and other library items as salvage and authorize for disposal of the same by recycling, which would include 32 magazine titles as provided, and 16 titles, 14 books, and 2 DVDs.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Let's go to item number 13 real quick since we're already on that. Item 13 is consider approval of declaring a list of items missing from the collection as obsolete and delete those records from the county library system. So this is the second list that we've received that says missing magazines.
All right.
Yes, so these magazines, they have been said that they are available in the library. We have done 2 inventories over the past 2 years, and they have not shown up for either inventory. And I have physically gone through the building and looked everywhere that I could try and find them, just to verify if they were in the building or not, and they are not. And so I would like to see if we can declare these magazines as obsolete and delete the records from our system, just to make sure that we have an up-to-date records.
Any questions or motion?
Any legal side of that?
Well, I mean, it sounds like they're lost, or, I mean, who knows where they went, but they're no longer, they don't exist in the library.
Yeah, the magazines are pretty much a disposable item after a year or 2.
Yeah, the information becomes irrelevant at that point.
I mean, somebody could have walked off with them, could have ended up in the trash can accidentally. We don't really know what happened, but
I needed to ask that before I did a motion, if there was anything else we needed to cover enough. So, move to approve the list of magazines that's missing from the collection as obsolete and to delete those records from the county system.
Second.
there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Back to item number 12, consider approval of accepting donations of books and other items for the county library.
Yes, so this is I have 2 lists here. One of them, the first one that starts with Treehouse Mystery and ends with a Amazon Kindle Fire. These were books that came from an order that we did through Apto, it's a publishing company. And they had a promotion, 2 promotions. One was to receive 53 books, and then the other promotion was to receive a free Kindle Fire. And we would just like approval of those. The Kindle Fire is being used in the library by library staff as needed. And the books have all been cataloged and entered into the library. And then the other list that begins with love from Cynthia, that ends with a Thermobind TV 500. That is donations from the friends. Books and movies have come in through the donations room, and we found that those are acceptable to be used in the library, and so we have added them to our collection. And then the Thermobind is a donation from the Friends, which it is a binding machine that helps us repair our books. It basically uses a hot glue strip that's more durable, and we can use a heat press with it to help bind the books better. It makes repair times a lot faster.
The first list, I didn't quite understand that. Was that a promotion?
Yes, sir, there are promotions. And so if we bought, I believe if I remember the number correctly, it was $3,000 worth of books. They added on an extra 50 books for free.
It's these 50 are free. The other $3,000 worth was normal, regular purchasing.
Yes. Yes, yeah.
Who's the donor for that? What company is it, or?
Abdo, ABDO, they are a publishing company.
I think I'd like to do that in 2 motions.
That's fine.
I move to approve the accepting of donations of books from the Abdo Publishing Company in the amount of $1,394.50.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And then I move to approve the accepting of donations from the Friends of the Library in the amount of $2,643.17 of books that were bought. And also for the Thermobind TV 500 in the amount of $337.11.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
These are from Friends of the,
Friends of the Library.
okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Item number 14, consider approval of an MOU between the county and FISD for school resource officers to be provided by the sheriff's office.
Yes, well, some of this we get late. I'm staying away from the owl because last time Brian Phillips did it, y'all lost connections. So I'm staying away from that. Okay, so we're looking at the MOU for the FISD school district for 2 deputies as SROs. The changes from last year's agreement is that we have increased the amount per hour to $40 both deputies per hour. And it comes to $126,000 per year for a school district year, which is about 187 days of that time frame. And then the other thing that's changed is that we're looking at a 3-year contract so that we have some surety that that position and the pay will be available to us for the 3 years, so that they can't just up and put on us in 1 year. Those are the 2 biggest changes made in that is the hourly per hour cost that we will be charging the school district, and that it's a 3-year contract. Something to note again is the House Bill 33 value strong based on putting security people in there, law enforcement, security, or the guardians. I think it has proven itself over the last half year, because we only did half a year last year with the school district. And anything outside of normal school hours of school will pay for it if they need our presence. After that, they will pay contract to the deputy as a contract deal, not so much to the county, but if they need them, they have to work that arrangement out with the deputies.
What was the prior rate that we were?
I think we were paying 32 and I think 28 something, because one deputy was making more than the other, so we just made it across the board.
Is FPD also having SROs current? Are they going to have SROs at other campuses?
Yes, sir. So what's gonna happen is the PD has picked up one more SRO, which will be assigned to the primary school. So that puts the elementary deputy that's currently there, Preston Schmidt, and then that would move Wayne Hudson, who's currently at the primary, over to Stonewall Elementary. So that way Stonewall is covered.
So I'm just looking through here, Judge, I don't know if you've reviewed this, but it mentions there's a 3-year term, but does it define when that term starts? I don't see it, just roughly looking through here, so.
And it doesn't specify, it looks like, other than the very last page here.
Effectively,
I'm sorry.
It's probably just going to be once it's executed by both parties would be the start date. and then-
I got it.
page 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I think I wrote this agreement for the PD when they did SROs.
So you approve?
So it should be good to go. I can't, I don't know if that's been amended since then, so I can't. It is, and one thing for, I mean, this is technically an interlocal between the two entities. And so part of the Interlocal Cooperation Act is you have to pay it out of currently appropriated funds. So even though it's a multi-year contract, if one of us didn't have appropriated funds to fund it in the future years, it would terminate. So so the 3 years is, contingent upon appropriation of each entity during those 3-year period.
And it does state in there that if we have to, for any reason, change it, we just have to put it in writing. So if there needs to be a change, and that includes that if in a year or so, the cost of something goes up, we can make those concessions with the school district to make them aware that we might have to raise that. So it's still in the for us.
Yeah, or they can make the arrangements, say
Yes,
we're gonna do something else.
And again, but I agree with you, but last time was at a year, so it kind of left us just at a year.
Yeah.
But this is kind of giving us some wiggle room to say, hey, right now, this is what we're looking at. The overall consensus from both the primary and the elementary school having our deputies there was huge. They said it really made a big difference. The school district, the PD at the last minute jumped up and threw in a third one to cover the primary. But I'm actually excited about the idea that we will have a deputy in Stonewall that will cover the Stonewall school system. The elementary there, being a deputy, having more of that local area jurisdiction versus a PD unit being over in Stonewall. So I think that's going to be huge for us. And currently, the SROs have been helping this summer cover shifts for people that need vacation. Preston Schmidt is working, graveyards, is working 6P to 6A, and he's been doing an excellent job. And then Wayne has been helping out here today, taking calls, et cetera. So they do help out quite a bit during the summer.
Well, I move we approve the memorandum.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 15, consider approval of the purchase of desktop computers for the communications center.
You can sit down, Sheriff.
Well,
Or-
Some of them-
Oh.
tied together, so. Actually, I am gonna step away and let Chief Deputy Phillips handle this one.
Well, we're doing the communications.
along with Les.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's gonna go
all
first.
together?
For some reason, we'll get that explained to you here in just a second.
Sorry for the confusion on my behalf.
So, the sheriff's office and I both requested, quotes for, they requested quotes for laptops and I requested quotes for, some Odyssey machines in our dispatch. We both asked for those quotes separately, but we got one quote, so the quote that I just handed you, we didn't have at the time that we placed the item on the item or the agenda request, but we just got this yesterday. So the quote I put in front of you has both their quote and our quote on it. So I am requesting to purchase 4 replacement computers that we use for in-house or Odyssey machines. The ones we currently have were put in place in August of '21. So they're due for replacement, and the cost on that, according to the quote that I received yesterday, is $4,888.72. I do have some money that I'd like to move. I requested a budget adjustment from line item 4502 to line item 6005, and my department is 504.
So these weren't budgeted?
No, sir, I was actually gonna try to replace them in next year's budget, but there's some money left over, so I'd like to go ahead and get them replaced out of this year's budget rather than request them in next year's.
And you have funds to do that?
Yes, sir. And the reason why I have some of those funds available is ACOG has made a couple of things for us, so we have some funds that are budgeted for things, but ACOG took care of those.
I move we approve the purchase of desktop computers for the communication center, 4 replacement machines in the amount of $4,888.72 with transfer of funds to cover the purchase from 4502 to 6005.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item number 16, consider approval of the purchase of and payment of invoice for laptops for patrol vehicles for the sheriff's office.
Morning.
Morning.
About a month ago, I got a screenshot from IT showing that 5 was going to cost about $13,600. Been waiting for a quote, got one the other day before this last one, it went down to 11, and now it's down to $9,654 for the 5. When I put the item in the agenda, I was requesting 15 because of the fluctuation on the computers, so whether they were going to go up or down. So it's just approval to purchase based on the 15, which is way the 9,000 is way below that. So if it fluctuates again, I just, however you want to handle requesting. Trying to request more, just in case it does go up by the time you purchase them. It's been going down the whole time, so I'm just trying to.
This
make sure
quote
we
is,
have enough.
this quote is good through August 26th.
Okay.
And are these new machines or are they replacements or what?
Should be new.
Yeah, you're buying them to replace something? Okay. So these go in patrol vehicles, right?
Yes, sir.
And how many is it?
5.
5.
So where were you getting 15 from?
The current one, it was the approval for to use 15,000.
Oh, 15,000. Okay, I just heard 15. I thought you were talking
It keeps going
units.
down from the
Okay.
first at 13.6 to we're at 9.6 now, so. this one-
Maybe we ought to wait another month, see if they go down again.
Well, then we can get them in, so.
But here's what I would say, for Jordan and Lowe, they've been knocking it out of the park for us, but they are overwhelmed with our requests, so that's why it did take a little bit. But they eventually got what we needed, but they just combined that with Jordan and Lowe are doing a great job for us.
So this quote is 14,542. So if we take away Les's part, that remaining amount is $9,654. Does that sound right? So I move we approve the purchase and payment of invoice for laptops for the patrol vehicles for the sheriff's office for 5 computers in the amount of $9,654.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Item number 18 is discussion and possible action to submit a request to the city of Fredericksburg to seek a partnership to consolidate our hotel occupancy tax collection operations.
David, can you get Chris Warner? I'm sorry, Judge, I think he's,
Right, yes, that's fine. While we're getting Chris to join the meeting, I had a very brief discussion with city manager about possibly consolidating our hotel occupancy tax collections, where all of the, across the county, inside the city and outside the city, those would be remitted to one location or one office that could then process everything, just for, the ability to be more efficient at that process and have somebody that focuses on that full time. And so, based on that, I had some discussion with Commissioner Weinheimer and the treasurer-elect, because the treasurer's office currently collects hot. We had a discussion on that, and so the purpose of this item is to see if the Commissioner's Court is on board with making a request to the city to pursue this discussion and see if we can work out some scenario where that would benefit both parties. Good morning. We're just talking about the hotel occupancy tax item. I gave a little bit of background on my discussions with city and our sort of internal discussion we've had on that. I know you've had some communication with, I guess, at least one vendor. If you want to give a little background on where you are on that.
Yes, and by the way, good morning, everybody. Chris Winter with the County Treasurer's Office. The contact that I've had, the vendor's name is John Spencer. He has a program that he has worked with the city before, and he's been brought back. And so his background is where he's writing programs and so forth, and this one is going to specifically be towards targeting not only the city, but as well as anyone that's outside in the county as well. So it would be a combination of both. And what he's done is he's scrubbed and looked at many different platforms. So whether it's a calendar review, whether it's a Google review, or anything of that nature, he's compiled all that information together to then be able to bring that back to us specifically to then identify what are the potential missing SCRs that are out there that may be paying, may not be paying, and these folks may be working with the VRBO or Airbnb. And so his particular program has looked at all that information. He's compiled it, pulled it together. He sent me some preliminary information, and I've shared a little bit of that with the judge and the commissioners just to have a little better understanding of what's potentially out there that we're missing as a county. And then to jump a little bit further, I believe it's Jim McCool, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
He, as well as Clinton.
Bailey.
Yes. They sat down with me and we've come together just to kind of start brainstorming a little bit more to understand what is our next step. And I feel at this point, we've gotten enough detail to where we need to get the right minds together in the same room to be able to begin to understand, do we need to hire an individual? That's on the table. There's a job description that's out there for that. And then how do we partner with the city to be able to collect these funds that are potentially not being paid? Some individuals, they already come into the county treasurer's office and they have deer in the headlights. They don't know. And I think this is a good opportunity for us to be able to put out some information, educate, and then as well as partner with the city. So that's the preliminary information I have at this point.
so currently our hot taxes are paid essentially through a volunteer program. People are coming in and paying the taxes. I mean, there's no, that's how it's being done today. So that was sort of was a question, I think. Is that correct?
It is,
Okay.
and there's really not forgive me, I've been in this role now for about 2 months now. So there's still a lot of detail that are being fleshed out, but there's not really an authority, if you will, to be able to oversee specifically who is not.
So if we work jointly with the city, would the city collect the taxes? Or would this person and program and individual collect them on our behalf and give our portion to us and the city's portion? I'm trying to understand, does the collection change?
I don't believe that the collection would change. I believe it's more just the
It's
process
identifying.
of identifying and
Okay.
then reaching out to those individuals to say, hey, we've identified you. Are you still operating as such? And how do we enforce that, if you will? And I think there's obviously some legal aspects to this that I'm not familiar with, but certainly we want to pursue them, and the sooner the better in this case.
Mhm.
So I hope that answers a little bit.
Yeah, so the other question I had is around, some of the stuff that you sent has mentioned the CAD. So I'm trying to understand what the CAD's role is in this. And do you know, or Judge, do you know on that, or?
I do not.
Okay.
I think there was some discussion directly with the appraisal district on trying to determine if they were correctly appraising properties as a short-term rental or B&B that would be appraised differently than if it was just a single-family residence. So I think that's the tie-in is a valuation question for them. Obviously, that's separate from what we do. But I think the thought was maybe that all the entities could benefit from a sort of comprehensive, review of what's out there, what's operating as a short-term rental or a B&B versus what's not.
So if this individual or this program identifies them, we would share that information with the CAD for them to possibly take action.
I mean, that's been proposed. I mean, I've had one very short discussion with Scott Fair of the appraisal district about that process, but my understanding is that was the approach to them was about the valuations and using this information to assist in that. I will say that the hotel occupancy tax statute is essentially set up to be a voluntary, remittal process. There is some auditing authority in there, random auditing authority. And so, like on large hotels, it's a little different because there's some ability to, like if a hotel is sold, you can recoup any back missing unpaid hot, unremitted hot as part of the sale proceeds. But for short-term rentals, it's a little more difficult. And since we don't have any permitting capabilities within the county to do short-term rental permitting, that even gives us less ability to, to tie it to something. And so, but I think the proposal from my perspective would be to try to see if the city has the capability to handle the county side of collection within their current operation, and then they would remit, our share obviously to the county as part of that, and we would contribute a portion of HOT to fund that administrative side.
So that's back to that first question. You said collection or identification for us to collect?
Well, I think it would be one and the same. I mean, if we identify a unit that hasn't remitted, there's a 4-year look-back period.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple ways to get there. I mean, sometimes people remit to the state, but not to the local entities. And so you can use those state records to show, well, you've been paying hot to the state, why you've not been remitting locally. That's one way. If an audit is done, it's determined there's been unpaid hotel occupancy tax, and there's penalties and interest that accrue by statute as part of that also. Mm-hmm. So I think it would be, utilizing the software to identify units and then linking those to accounts to see if we're getting payment from everybody. The ones that we don't seem to be, we could contact and determine if they're still operating or not, and without a permitting, but without, just a sort of more of an auditing of our hot collections. Right.
So what's the benefit of teaming with the city as opposed to just doing one in-house?
I think there's a couple. One is they've already got their infrastructure in place for, I think, a more advanced, collection process than we're doing currently. Secondly, there is confusion among members of the public as to which entity they're supposed to pay. And so if everybody were to go to one location, I think that they could advise, oh, you're supposed to remit to the county or to the city, and they would allocate it that way versus, sometimes we get checks for city property, sometimes the city gets checks for county property. So just trying to consolidate, create sort of a one-stop shop, if you will, for for the taxpayer, the hotel occupancy taxpayer.
And wouldn't there be a shared resource as opposed to us individually
Correct.
having to do that?
Right. I mean, it might, it would result in some cost savings if we could allocate, some resources to that, and they're allocating some resources and have a, fully functioning operation, as opposed to right now it's sort of piecemeal on each side.
And if I may add, this particular individual, whether it's a shared position, there will be some reporting back to the treasurer's office just for that oversight. So
Mhm. So are we looking for essentially just approval to try to pursue this further and come up with a
Right.
plan and a potential ILA for us to approve?
Right. I mean, I didn't want to get too far down before we talked about it on county side and see if this is something that there was appetite for. Obviously, the treasurer's office has to have buy-in as well, since they're the ones that collect it currently. And then if there is an interest in pursuing it, then we can begin, or I guess further those discussions and see if we can come up with a plan that would be reduced to an interlocal.
Yeah.
And we could, talk about funding, all of those things as part of that.
Well, I'd be in favor of us going forward with it, so. Or at least looking at what it would structurally, what it look like in cost and what we perceive the benefit to be from that, so.
I agree with the comment.
Thank you.
I know you didn't want approval.
Pursue the options is my thought.
Mickey is currently out for the next couple of weeks, so I had a chance to visit with her as well, and she conveyed to me that she would be supporting this, so conveyed
Okay.
her out as well.
All right. Well, we're not deciding anything. It's just,
Yeah.
we're going to continue to discuss and see if we get more details, and then we'll come back with, maybe with a plan to move forward. All right.
Anything else?
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
What's my name?
Pretty much every flat.
Okay, item number 19, or I'm sorry, item number 18 was discussion only, but no formal action. Go to item number 2, which is a consent agenda. It's routine business items the Commissioners Court will approve in a single motion unless a member of the court wants to pull that item or an item for individual discussion. We did have the auditor's office sent out a slightly revised, some items that were slightly revised from the initial packet. Did y'all get an opportunity to receive those? Okay, all right. Anything else? Any other amendments to the consent agenda or discussion? If not, a motion.
Move we approve our consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Anything else, Commissioners? I think we've addressed every item on the agenda today.
Yeah, I'd like to just give a quick update. Commissioner Offers and myself went to Austin yesterday for the hearing by the Texas Historical Commission Architect Committee. And they made a proposal that's going to the actual Historic Commission meeting on Friday in San Angelo. And Gillespie County would only be receiving, under their proposed award, a planning grant for the 1939 courthouse. So our emergency grants that we requested for the 39 courthouse and the 1882 courthouse, and the full restoration and planning combined, those grants would not make it for this period. So we would have to pursue that in round 15 in 2 years. So fortunately, we get the planning grant, which is what our original approach was before the commission actually asked us to submit a full grant versus just a planning grant. So we would be potentially awarded the planning grant, and then would use that for preparing for application for the round 15 in 2 years for the full restoration.
Thank you. Anything else?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned at 11:23 a.m. Thank you.
See you later.
Maybe.
See you.
Thank you for getting that posted for tomorrow. That makes me feel a little more comfortable. That's a 9.